Hi, good morning, everyone. Is it audible to everyone? Can you hear me?
Good morning, sir. It's audible.
Yes, sir. Good morning. Audible.
Yeah, okay, good. Thank you. Yeah, so the where are we and what we are doing or what we are learning? Yes, if you go through this, the last week, the last session, we try to recollect quickly. And then today, that one more concept which is available from the Terraform, which we should understand for the next concepts, that is about provisioners. But what about that provisioners and what are the different provisioners are available? Before understanding that, let's try to recollect it. The last section. In the last section, especially which you are working with the dynamic approach. Yeah, the before, if you remember that, in the security group ingress rules as a number of ports point of view. So we were adding the same content block, a same block of the code, the number of times. That is, let's take that example. If the ports required 2280.443 and tomorrow maybe some other ports. Yes, for each port, the separate content block we are defining for the ingress rules. Yeah, if it is the 3 ports, 3 times, if it is the 5 ports, 5 times. Yeah, we were adding the block of the code in the resources section. But instead of defining the static approach, then what we can do is from the Terraform, we can use the dynamic block. So we can take it one the list variable in the list as a number of elements which were defined, number of ports. As a number of ports point of view, it has to generate this dynamic block. That's point of view, this dynamic block we are using, and where we were reading that each port which has been defined in the variable, that is each element, and that element we are going to use it, that element value with that like from port and to port and which protocol, what is the CIDR block. Yeah, same block of the code we are regenerating the number of times. A block name is ingress block and content is, this is the content. But here the port value will be replaced dynamically during runtime. So here if you add that more ports, yes. And if you reapply the Terraform, then as per that the ports, the block will be generated. That is one point which we are trying to understand it, dynamic ingress block. And another point that is a count option. Yes, one more option, the count. Yes, if you need that number of instances. So this block is the same block, the resource block, but you need to have the 10 instance or 2 instance or 1 instance. Then how do you handle that? Yeah, that is a count is one more variable which you are trying to understand. This is not only for AWS instance. You can use it this count attribute for the different resources also. So you can check it about that argument section of that resource and you can use it this count attribute. But count you are using is nothing but some dynamic values we need to pass it. Especially name of the server, we are not hard coding that. So web server 1, web server 2, 3, like that to identify that. So the name of the server and we are adding about it dynamically, the index number also. Yeah, so this is one more option. That is a count option, but count as per that, if we are changing the count is nothing but output variable also we need to define that. Yes, which the instance related IP address or the DNS you are going to read it. If you define this output variable for that instance, where we have defined the count, yes. So you need to add it dynamically, the position argument also. Yeah, this is one more section which you are understanding the count. And anything else which we are talking that? Yeah, one more block about this AWS AMI. Yeah, we are not hard coding that AMI ID here. Instead of hard coding that AMI ID, so we are dynamically getting that the latest data of AWS AMIs. What are the most recent which is available from the owner Amazon on the base of the name, root device type, and virtualization type? We are filtering that the AMI IDs, and that AMI ID dynamically we are reading that. So this is the Terraform one more feature, that is the data resource. Data it is providing. Yes, which data it is required, AMIs or availability zones or instance types. You can dynamically identify that and you can use it. Yeah, there are the three concepts we are understanding in the previous section. Yeah, with this, it's somewhat better, like defining about it, AWS instance with the security group and variables. Instead of hard coding that, yes, defining the variables and from the variables reading that. But whenever we are defining the variables and variable data types like a string data type or list data type, map data type, yeah, tags point of view map which we are defining. Yeah, there are like points and output variables, the provider specification, and then resources specification. Yeah, this is the way we need to plan it and think of it while implementation of the Terraform block. Is it clear about those points?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, good. But still, we have one more concept. Still, that is not ended. Implementing that AWS instance resource for the web server. Here, if you remember that user data we have specified, reading that this HTTP server.sh, and in this HTTP server.sh, yes, we were preparing about it index.html file also. Some echo message and generating that one static HTML file, and that HTML file deploying into the HTTP server, that is where HTML directly. But these points, like if you just observe that M update, installing HTTPD, starting HTTPD, enabling HTTPD, okay, these are all the things which we can do while boot up the system. But HTML file deployment is dynamic. Maybe today I have this concept and tomorrow I need to change it to some different content. I need to deploy that application. So index.html file, I need to deploy that on the HTTP server. But today we have this welcome HTTP server, and I would like to change this to welcome to Terraform. Okay, if I change it and if I rerun it, what's going to happen there? As we know that this the shell script which we are defining that with the user data section. User data section is going to run it only the first time, right? During launching time. But if I update this script and if I rerun the Terraform without destroying the existing instance, it is not going to apply that. But we can do that. We have update cache, refresh. We have another approach. But here, general concept of that EC2 instance, if you just try to understand it. So user data section is going to executing that the only bootstrap time, first time. But if you restart the instance, it is not going to apply that. So in this script, these commands, I'm fine, I'm good. while bootstrap time, yeah, these commands are always the same. I don't want to change it for my web server. But where HTML file, I need to keep on change it and keep on reapplying that. But whenever I change it and reapplying is nothing but I don't want to destroy the previous instance and relaunch in the new instance. On the existing instance itself, I would like to deploy the latest index HTML file. But these are all fine. The one time these are all definitions. They're all not going to changing that. But my application content, yes, I need to change it. Now I would like to deploy welcome to Terraform V1. Next, I would like to deploy as a developer suggestions V2. This is I need to keep on update that on the existing instance, not the new instance. Then how do you handle this case? So this is the concept which we are going to talk it. That is how do we use it, the provisioners, to make it that the instances with the dynamic data. Yeah, instance launching so far with the bootstrap scripts we understood. But after launching the instance, but if you'd like to copy the files to the system, or if you'd like to run the scripts on the remote systems, then how do we handle that? Yes, let's go ahead and understanding about the next concept, that is provisioners. This is one more important concept for the DevOps engineer. So if we are going to automate the scripts, which we should know it. So not only just launching the resources, so once the instance is ready, how do we connect it and how do I copy the files or how do I run the commands on the remote system? Yes, the provisioners is the concept. But in these provisioners, we can say the three types of the provisioners. One is local provisioner. Local provisioner is, yes, a local executable. Suppose wherever we have this, wherever we are running the Terraform commands, now we are running the Terraform on the Windows system. On the Windows system itself, I need to generate some temporary files or I need to run some commands on the local system. Wherever the Terraform is installed on the system, I would like to run or execute commands. Then how do I execute the commands on the Terraform system using the Terraform? Yeah, then we can use it local exec provisioner. Yeah, invokes a local executable after a resource is created. Yeah, this invokes a process on the machine running the Terraform, not on the resource, not on the EC2 instance. So it is going to run it on the Terraform host. Wherever you are running the Terraform commands on that host, it is going to executing that. Yeah, to run the commands on the remote resource, suppose EC2 I have launched it on the EC2 instance or within the EC2 instance, I need to run the command. Then remote exec is the provisioner which we can use it. But local exec is Terraform running machine. Yeah, how do we use it? This locally exec is. Yeah, so this is one type of the provisioner as we are talking that this is the provisioner concept. So far, provider we discussed, resource we discussed, data we discussed, variable we discussed, output we discussed. There are all the different types of the declarative blocks of the Terraform. Now we are talking that the one more block, that is a provisioner. But which type of the provisioner we are going to use it? Local exec. That means on the Terraform, wherever we are running on that machine, it is going to executing that. But which command that do you want to run it and how do I define the command is? Yes, you can use the command and whatever the command you would like to run it, that command you can specify that here. Within the double quotation, you can define the command. See, thus this is here one example which has been given. to generate one temporary file with the private IPs. Yes, so it is helping that. Okay, here I would like to generate it index.html file dynamically. That index.html file I would like to copy to the remote system. How do I copy that? Yeah, so this provisioner I would like to use that now. Locally XCC and echo and Terraform. That is, yes, welcome to Terraform, and creating that index.html file. Now I'm going to dynamically generating that my static HTML file. I don't want to hard code like this within the Bootstrap script. Yes, let me take this block of the code. Now, whatever this file we are generating that, now this file I'm going to generate a dynamic. But where do I need to define this block of the code? This provisional block, if I directly execute it, is it going to work with that? Suppose if I run this one, so this is the locally XCC. Let's see that's what's going to happen that. So let me use it. Git bash terminal. Now what are the files? What is the file we have changed is http server.shs. I have commented that line. Under resources.tf file, I have added this block of the code. If I apply Terraform apply command, we just added the provisional block. So if I directly define the provision block, it is saying that's unsupported block type. That means you cannot directly use this provisioner. You need to use this provisioner in one of the resource block. In a resource block. A resource block already we have that here, resource AWS instance block. But this is, I don't want to run into this provisioner within this resource. But I would like to run this provisioner. How do I do that? So we have one more, we have this one more supported block, the supported resource to execute temporarily. If you are going to execute the commands, then we can use it to this resource. What is that resource is? Null resource. Yeah, if you search it in the Google or Terraform documentation, this is not specific to the AWS. This is Terraform providing that if you have those any commands to temporarily run it, this kind of the provisioner scripts, yes, you can use it to this null resource. Yeah, this is kind of the provisioners without a resource. Yes, null is, that is, there is no resource. It is not going to create a resource, but it can be used to execute the commands. Resource Terraform data. We go for null documentation. Yeah, so this is a null provider. And how to use this block of the code is null resource. Yes, this is the structure of it. This is also like AWS instance, how we are defining the same approach. A resource, But here the resource type is null resource. This does not belong to that any AWS, this does not belong to the Azure, this does not belong to that other. It is simple, some temporary resource you are generating that to execute, or that to execute the provisioner, simple. If I would like to execute any local provisioner or file provisioner or remote provisioners, how do I execute it? I need to execute that in the resource block. But whatever the provisioner I am going to execute it, that provisioner is not belong to any resource. That is temporarily I am running that to generate one file. But that provisioner, local provisioner, how do I run it? Yes, I can use it, this null resource. Let me take it this block of the code. So now I'm going to define that one more kind of the resource, that is null resource. And this one I'm going to call that the label as a provisioner. Just a name, provisioner. But I would like to execute this provisioner block. This local exec provisioner block, and command, what is the command I would like to run? It is the welcome to Terraform v1, and I would like to generate index.html file. Okay, with this local provisioner, first we are generating the file which is required to copy to this EC2 instance. Now we need to copy it later. Now in the HTTP server.sh, we are not defining that index.html file. That index.html file with this local provisioner, I am creating that first on the Terraform system. After creating this file, now I would like to copy it to this EC2 instance. How do you copy it? Will come back. Yeah, now the HTTP server.sh, the script is only helping that to install HTTP and starting the HTTP, but it is not going to deploy the application. But about our requirement is we need to deploy that application as well as, but before deploying that application, the application file has to be generated. Application file, this is a file, and this file I am generating that with local access on the Terraform system. So once this file is ready, then I will copy this one to AWS instance. Yes, this instance. How do you copy it? Yes, copying separate provisioner will use it. There is a file provisioner. Yeah, let me take it. Let me run it and let's see this output. What's going to happen that, and we see this. That's later extending that point. Yeah, let me rerun it as we are talking about it. Unsupported block. But now we have unsupported block is a provisioner. Provisioner directly you cannot define it. It should be defined within the resource block. Now we have taken the null resource. Null resource is not belong to that any. That does not belong to that AWS. Now if I apply it, we see this. We are expecting some errors. Let's see. Yeah. So now we have defined the new resource type, right? Null resource is the new resource. You see that null, whatever we have defined, it is not specific to AWS. It is a new resource we have defined. We need to run Terraform init command for it. To download the plugins supporting for this null resource, yes, we need to do that. Terraform init first. As we are understanding initially this command, if I'd like to add additional plugins, yeah, so we are good now. That has been initialized. Let's go further supplying that command. You see that it has been added AWS plugins. And now it has been added null resource plugin also. So after executing this, what is the output we are expecting is HTTP server is going to have it with the default application. But in our current workspace, we are expecting one index.html file in the local system. Oh, I didn't change the count. That is a problem. So it is launching the 10 instances now. I need that only one. The next time we'll say that only one. But now it has been launched the 10. Anyway, so let's go ahead and take this instance. And let's go back to the now what is the output we are expecting?
Welcome to
Is
Terraform.
no, right? There's a default
Sorry,
page.
index file.
Yeah, default index file, which we are expecting that. Yes. So this is a default Apache HTTP server page. We didn't deploy it because, I mean, if you just observe that about our code.
Sir, we are not able to see that screen.
Yeah. So this is a default page which we got it. So Apache HTTP server after it has been installed. So we didn't deploy that's about our actual application code. So if you go back to the code and if you see that in the server.sh, yes, we have commented this. I didn't deploy this one now. The custom index file, we didn't deploy it. But custom index file we have generated in the local. You see that index.html file has been generated in the local Terraform project. That is welcome to Terraform v1. That's we have defined in the null resource with the provisioner local is nothing but that is a Terraform the system. Yes, so this is a command we are trying to executing that welcome to Terraform v1 and we are generating that we are forwarding this output to index.html file. That index.html file has been generated. Yeah, so that is about local XEC advantage, local executor, local provisioner. So on the Terraform system, if you like to run commands or if you like to generate some files, which we can use it, this local provisioner. Are you clear about this one?
Yes, sir.
So now with this provisioner block, we have generated index.html file. But now my requirement is this index.html file I need to deploy in this instance, yes, AWS instance, in the folder, which folder? Var ww HTML. So how do I do that? How do I copy the files? Yeah, next provisioner which we go for this using. So what is the next provisioner that we are talking that? Yeah, now we understand the local exec. So if you'd like to generate any temporary files or if you'd like to run any commands on the Terraform host, you can use the local exec. But can I define that in single block? Like suppose if I go back to the code, so can I define multiple provisioners here? Locally XCC? Yes, you can define it. So this is one provisioner. Suppose I would like to run some basic commands like pwd command. Can I execute it? Yes, we can run it. Multiple provisioners in single resource, we can run it. Suppose if I go back to the script and if I execute once again, now count we have to find only one. So we are expecting remaining 9 instances should be terminated. That is one thing. So let's see this. So finally, so far we understood that local provision. So what is the purpose of the local provisioner?
Temporary files.
Yeah, I would like to run that commands on the local system, which we can use it that. So that is on the Terraform system. Yes, now I have changed the count to 1. 9 resources it is destroying. Yes, I'm happy. I need that only one enough. Yeah, so only one instance. But here you see this, we are running about it, some command, something pwd. Do you see that the pwd command anywhere? So it is not showing that any output. Maybe it is overlap that output. So here one more important point. Now you see this, that's the output, it has been overlapped. Whenever it is destroying itself, maybe backend that resource was executed. So you see that null resource is mainly deleting the resources, but we don't see that the null resource activity. So some use cases, what's going to happen, that is, there is one more important. So before executing this AWS instance block, it was already executed. That's why we didn't see that any output. But index.html file, yes, that is generated. That's fine. But some other commands, whatever I was running about it, I was not able to see this. That's output. Or let me define that ls -l. That would be better. We'll see there's some long output. So here some use cases what we have is, I need to run this resource block after executing this resource block. So how do I manage that? This is kind of the dependencies. Yeah, this null resource has to be executed after AWS instance resource has been created. It has to be executed. Can we manage that? Yes, we can manage that. We have the concept of depends on. Yeah, Terraform is providing that depends on block. Let's define that. That's block. That is yeah, this null resource block has to be executed after AWS instance. Once AWS instance is ready, then we need to run this null resource. Then how do we handle that is, we have the depends on option. So, and you can define the list of all the resources. That's where the dependencies before launching this null resource. So, in Terraform, what it is going to do that is in this depends on block. So, whatever the resource I have defined after getting the ready. So, this resource, okay, let me define my dependency is this is the one. So once AWS instance is ready, this web server, yeah, once this my web server is ready, then I need to go for executing these provisioners. Yeah, how do you control it? Which resources should be executed first, and after that, the next which resource? So how do you control is here we have the depends on option. Now let's go ahead and let's run this. Again, if I run it Terraform, apply command. So first AWS instance will be launched, and once that is ready, then null resource will be executed. So we can control sequence of the resources, which resource has to be executed first, next which resource. That's also we can control it by using the depends on block. Yeah, but we don't see this any differences. That's why it is showing about it. No resources adding or destroying or changing. So you see that here, AWS instance after executing that, now it is executing the null resource provisioner. The sequence has been changed now. Yeah, obviously, yes, Linux AMI, security group, and then web server, then provisioner, we are executing that. Yeah, let me destroy it and let me run it, then clearly to understand it the one time.
Sir, but there that command is not executed, no?
Yeah, ls-l.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so that is not executing. That's why I would like to destroy it one. Let me run it that. Actually, it has to print it, but it is already taking that or overlapping. Let's see this now.
Sir, 3 to destroy means we launch only one instance, no?
No, total 3 resources, right?
That null resource.
Yes, security group. Yeah, so the null resource and AWS instance and security group, these three resources that have been destroyed. So let's say that's the output. The maybe two provisioners executing point of it is overriding. So we'll observe that. So I see this, yes, it has been executed ls-l command, that command output, and as well as the welcome to Terraform redirecting to that index.html file. So in the local exec, but resource, which resource? Where we have defined the null resource. Yeah, but still we didn't copy or we didn't deploy that index.html to the remote, but we just generated. We are just running that's local executors, not on the remote. Yes, index.html file is generating. Yeah, we are overriding, right? So it is keep on appending that. Whenever we run it, it is keep on updating that. So is it clear about that locally XCC?
That means resource destroyed, but index file is not destroyed.
Yeah, index file, once it is destroyed, it won't be. Once it has been created, that is in the local system, right? It won't be deleting that.
Okay.
So we are not using about it file resource here to generate file or removing the file. This is the command has been generated. This is not done through the Terraform block, right? This is about our command which we are using to generate temporary files. These files, if you would like to remove it, you need to go for removing the file explicitly. But this is not the Terraform is not going to deleting that index.html file. Got the point? Why it is?
Yes, sir. Got it.
Yeah, fine. So now the point is I need to copy this index.html file. So if I don't want to override it, what I need to do is simple. I mean, I don't want to append it. I would like to just override it. Appends only one line. So then I can change it. The single greater than, then next time whenever I run it, it is going to have it only one line. Fine. So that is one point. Yeah. Now we have defined the local provisioner. So which is helping about it to generate the index.html file. But now I need to deploy the index.html file to my server, AWS instance. How do I do that? Yeah, now I need to connect it to this instance. Now I need to connect it to this instance. And after connecting, I need to copy the files. Yes, what is the next provision others? We can use it to copy the files to the remote system. If we go to the provisioner section, You can see the file provisioner. This file provisioner is going to helping that to copy the files. Yes, you see that provisioner type as a file, and you need to define the source file. Yes, which file that you want to copy and which location that you want to copy that. But I would like to copy not in the local system. I would like to copy to that AWS instance. That means I need to connect it to the system first. But how do I connect it? Yeah, so if you refer this remote, so let me show that the connection object that is required. Yeah, so this is the connection object which we can use it to connect to the remote system and to copy the files. Yeah, connection type as such, and which user that do you want to use it to connect to the remote system, and what is the password of that, and what is the host key. Yeah, we can use it these attributes to connect to the remote system. Yeah, let me take it this connection block of the code, and let's go ahead to the null resource. Yeah, within the null resource, now index.html file has been copied. Now I would like to connect it to this after the file has been generated. I would like to connect it to EC2 instance. But how do I connect it, or how do we define that? The connection block, here it is. Here we need to use it. Type is okay, that is SH communication. But which user we have? EC2 user, the EC2 instance. And the password, no, we don't have any password, right? We are not having the password. We have the private key. So here we have this private key option. Private underscore the key. So this is the property which we can use it. And what is the private key that we are using? Terraform, right?
Yes, sir.
Terraform is the key that we are using that. But this Terraform key, where it is located? So whenever it is connecting time, so it is going to locate this file, but this file is available in the downloads folder. So what do we do? That is, instead of doing that downloads directory, let me, here we need to get that file to the project. Actually, that file is available in the downloads folder. If I go to the downloads, and yes, this is the PEM file, but I need to take this file and let's go back to the project. Where is the project? That is in the D drive.
Workspace.
So we have created, yes, the workspace. Copy to the project home directory that is recommended. So batch 48. And here, yeah, B48 Terraform. This is about a project home directory. So the PEM file, whatever we are going to use it for the connection point of view, you need to keep it in the local project folder. So where is that? That has been copied. Yeah, terraform.pem file that I have copied. Now if I go back to this my project, yeah, so this is the file which I need to use it, terraform.pem file. That file I'm going to specify that. Yeah, which key we are going to use it to while connecting to this instance, terraform.pem file. Yeah, type of communication is SH and user is EC2 user, and authentication is with the key based, that is a private key. but where that key is located is in the current project folder itself, that is terraform.pem file. Now host IP address we need to define it. Host IP address, how to get it? We know it getting this IP address of the system. So this is the public IP address I would like to use it. So are you clear about these points?
Yes, sir.
So now we have defined the connection object connecting to the about our AWS instance web server with the public IP. Yes, public IP with the username and a private key we are connecting. But after connecting that, what I would like to do that.
Deploying the file.
Yeah, I need to copy this in the current
Right.
folder index.html file, whatever we have. That's file I need to copy to var www.html directory. Yes, now let's go ahead using the provisioner. Which type of the provisioner?
Remove.
The file provisioner.
Yes, yes. File.
To copy the files, we can use it file provisioner. Yeah, provisioner is a file, but which file I would like to copy? So you can define the complete path, but we have directly that is index.html file. Where do I would like to copy that? Where
www.
HTML. But if I try to copy directly this www HTML, but this directory is required the root user, but here we are using the EC2 user. So what the recommended approaches is whenever you are copying the files to the remote system, you don't get it directly the permissions. First, try to copy to the temporary directory, and from there, then connect to the system and local execute the commands which are required. So that is recommended. So directly we don't get the permissions. So what you can do is you can do that temporary directory copying that. Yes, so that's what I'm doing. Let me execute it and we'll see this whether it is a file is copied to this index.html to the temporary directory or not. So I'm going to re-executing this once again. The completely, yes, we have deleted some comments. I'm going to destroy it first and let me relaunch it. So now what we have done is we have defined the connection object for the file provision. So total two provisioners. One is local provisioner to generate index.html files. And then we are connecting to the AWS instance. Then we are using the provisioner to copy the files to the remote system. So let's launch it now.
Sir, you are explaining a Git terminal or
Yeah, git bash. Yes.
that is not visible to us, sir.
Git bash not visible.
Not visible, sir. We are seeing Terraform. Oh, now it's okay. Sir.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so file provisioner, it is showing the some error. Let's see this, what it is saying that. Local access seed is fine. It has been executed, no issues. The resource, null resource provisioner file, private key, no key found. Yeah, so what could be the reason of this one? Okay, so this terraform.pem file is not found, it is saying this, but what could be the reason is, so we need to use it here like as a the file option. Yeah, so instead of directly defining, so let's define the file now. So this is the structure, and we can define even this terraform.pem file also has a variable. That is a different story. We define in the current directory. Even the index.html file is also located in the current directory /. Yeah, they're all the representation about current directory representation. So it is not able to find the file, right? Yeah, now here we are loading this one as a file, and here source and destination, this is fine, this is okay. But yeah, the private key has to refer the file location, this is the one. So let's rerun it. Yeah, so now it is done. But how to test it that file has been copied or not? Yeah, let's take it this public IP. So let's use a mobile XTEM. And we log into this system and we go to the temporary directory and we are expecting the file out there, right? So let's launch the session connecting to this. Where is the key now? That is in the project. We have to completely copy to workspace project. So let me go to the directory. P48 and PEM file. Where is that? Yeah. Yeah. So we are good. Connected, but where the file has been copied or not, let's check it in the temporary directory. So it is not copied. Index.html file is not copied. So have we specified that proper path? Let's check it now in the code. Yes, current directory index.html file, whatever we have. So that file we are trying to copy to the temporary directory. But why it is not copied? So let me check it. Web server. File location index.html file temporary directory. So everything it seems fine. Okay, so we are not defining the provisioner within this AWS instance, right? So here it is not able to find the connection object. So what do I do is I go for defining this provisioner. Simple, I'll move into this one. Sorry, what's happened? Yeah, so I take this block of the code and I'll keep this in this connection object itself. Because here as we are defining this provisioner in the separate null resource block. So this whenever we run into this provisioner, it is not having that any connection. It is not using the connection object. This block is different and provisioner block is different. But if I'm going to use this provisioner directly within the AWS instance section, in this resource, if I use it, then no issues. Then it will be connected and it will be copied. But here we have defined this null resource block. This provisioner block in the null resource. Null resource is different. EC2 instance is different. Now within the connection block, I am executing this provisioner. Yeah, that is the issue because as different resources we have defined, the provisioner should be matched to this connection object. Yeah, let me run it and let's see those exceptions. Let me dash it as clear the cache as well as. Are you following the points? The errors understanding and error based, how do you work with that?
Yes, sir. Following.
Blocks of the type of provisioner are not expected here. provisioner file is not accepted. Let's check it now. We have defined let me check the Terraform documentation here. So what is the Terraform block provisioners? Yeah, within the AWS instance block, you can define the provisioner block. Fine. Remote EXEC provisioner is accepting connection object and provisioner.
Sir, once you see the destination path, sir.
Destination path. HTMP, this is the only, right?
See.
That is correct only. HTMP. So here only we are trying to copy, but it is not copied. But it should be, so it's so this connection object is not accepting. That is only for remote. Let me do. So this is a file index.html. Spelling is the same, correct? And temporary directory. Okay, everything it seems correct, but let me run it one more time. I'll say this. It is taking time to destroy it. Normally, it should not take this much time also. Okay, so destroyed. Let's see the supply, but it should work it. So let's see. So once this completes, then we have that one more provisioner to understand it. That is a remote XCC. So locally XCC, file provisioner, and remote provisioner. Yeah, once this activity completes, then we go for this tomorrow onwards, starting application side. Yeah, so which we should start application. So far, we didn't discuss application side. Yeah, what is Java application and so what are like build steps or the build activities that we have and how do you perform those build activities? That means what is the build tool that we are going to use it to manage all the build activities of the Java application. So that is the next concept which we need to start it. Okay, so it is showing that's file provisioned. Everything it seems here it is okay. But whenever we are working with that, so it's let's see that's output. Still we didn't see this index.html file. Okay, that is not copied. Let me do one thing. Simple, what I do is instead of copying this file, I'll generate this one in the files folder. And I'll try to copy this entire files folder. Instead of copying that individual file, let me copy this way. Yeah, I'm going to generate, instead of, let me delete this file also. Okay. So now I'm going to generate in this a separate folder and this folder which we use it to copy the files. So let's try it now. Actually, even it can take it if the file also, but it is not doing. Let me copy enter directory. So if you verify the documentation, okay. So here file you are copying is nothing but destination file also you need to specify that. Yeah, that is we missed it. I didn't specify that destination only folder I am specifying that.
I said that only, sir. See the destination path script dot sh.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about a temporary directory.
Oh,
Yeah, so here we are not copying the file. Even you can specify that here also. Yes, we have copies the config.d folder.
when it means I searched now when we are using SSH, it must be already exist that destination file.
No. It is file exists, directory exists, that is required. File, it must be exist.
Yes, sir. It is saying that only when we are using SSH connection type, the destination file should already exist.
Maybe you are copying the second time. That's why it is showing about it already exists.
Okay.
But file-wise, that is not required. See, first time copying is index.html is nothing but index.html file is not there, right?
Yes.
But here, as a file provisioner point of view, you need to specify the complete path. This file, it is going to copy as it is. But file is not required on the destination system. But actually, folder-wise, you can specify the directly folder. Yeah, etc. this config.d folder into that etc. But file, whenever you are copying, you need to specify that's in the destination also file name. Yeah, this file name we need to specify, but this file is not required in the etc folder already existing that. So it is going to copy this file as a this file. That is the meaning of it. It is a mapping.
Okay.
So let's see that. Yeah, that is a missed, I hope so. So normally we use that files mostly, directories mostly. This is just an example. I created the file. Fine, anyway, good. Now I'm expecting that one folder here, folder based creation. So let's see this. Okay, so here we don't have the folder, right? We didn't create a folder. Yeah, so that is a problem. The system cannot find the folder must be created. We didn't create it. I just specified the path. That's the problem. Okay, let me rerun it. Or you can change it now as that Terraform documentation point of view. You don't need to have it the files folder. But what we need to do is index.html file, the destination path also we need to define it. But directory wise, you can specify the directory. But I didn't use it directly the single file. Normally, which we use it folders directories, scripts directories, and we try to copy those directories directly. But here, yes, we are working with the file, right? File point of view, file to file, you need to map it. Good. That is as the Terraform documentation. So it is showing that, yes, we need to refer that on the basis of exceptions, errors. Requirement based working is important. Yeah, so now it is done. Let's see this. So we are expecting this time, so no issues. Yeah, now index.html file has been copied, that file, and you see this the content of this file. Yeah, welcome to Terraform V1. So that is on the base of the paths. Yes, good. So the file destination name also you need to define it, but in the destination system not required. That must not exist, but you need to map it. Mapping file based, but directory based that is not required actually. So now in the files folder, what all the files we have? All the file that has been copied to the temporary directory. In the files folder, what all the files we have? All the files here has been copied to the temporary directory. Yes, in the files you see that index.html file we have generated, and all the files we are copying to the destination directory. Or if you say specify that files also here, then this entire files folder that will be copied to here as a files folder. Okay, now we got it, the file index.html file. But what is my requirement is now I need to deploy that file to actually what is the next requirement? This index.html file we need to copy to
Where file?
yeah, where HTML. How do we run the commands now? Now the required files we got into the destination system, but now this file I need to copy to that where HTML. Sorry. But how do I execute that command? The copy command. So normally how do you run it? Sudo copy file that is /tmp index.html file, whatever we have, we need to copy to where HTML. So if I copy this and if you go to the browser and if you take this public IP, so let's take this IP. Now about our custom application has been deployed. But this command, how do I run it with the Terraform? So normally we have logged into the system and we have executed the sudo command. But I would like to run this command through the Terraform itself. After files copying, this file I need to copy to this folder. How do I do that? Yeah, if you go back to the code, yes, here we need to run it. This command using another provisioner. So what is the provision that we can use? It is a remote provisioner. Yeah, if we have this any commands to export it on the remote system, we can use it remote provisioner. A local provisioner, that is to create temporary files or to execute that temporary commands on the Terraform node, we can use it local provisioner. But if you'd like to copy the files, yes, file provisioner. But now the requirement is I need to execute this command on the remote system. But how do I execute it? Like example, on the base of the use case, maybe commands are the different, or maybe files are the different, or local commands are the different. Yes, once that's, on the base of the requirement, yes, we need to identify that which provisioner I need to use it and use the provisioner and run the commands. Now let's look into the documentation of a remote provisioner. Yeah, this is going to helpful to execute the commands on the remote system. Yes, first you need to connect it. And after connecting that, you can use the provisioner remote exec. And how do we export the commands is, yes, you can use it inline script. So here, what are the commands you would like to run it? You can run that, the inline commands, or we can say that inline script. So let me take it this block of the code and let's go ahead and do that, this provision. So which system do you want to connect it? Yes, first you can connect it. But this connection object already we have this one, I'll use it this. And provisioner remote exec. But I would like to run the commands. So what is the command we are talking about? This is the command. Now above provisioner is going to copy the files, and after copying the files, then I'm going to execute this command.
Already connection established now. Why we are using again connection blocks?
Yeah, you can use it the same connection object also.
Okay.
So if it is required that yeah, so there's a connection object is already defined, you can reuse that connection.
Means that remote execution can we define in that connection block?
Which block?
This remote execution provisioner block.
Yeah, we can define it as the Terraform documentation. If you refer that, that supports. But file is not going to support it.
Oh, okay.
So here, if you see this, so within the connection block, so these are all like AWS instance. Within the instance itself, it has been defined. That's why here directly you can connect it to that object. Once that instance has been created, you can connect it to that instance. That is a self public IP. Here you see that. And here you can define the provisioner block, which is defined. Yeah, I'll give that some examples in the next some scripts. Yes, you can define within the connection block itself about the provisioner. But file is not supporting. If you just remember that the file was throwing that error, you cannot use it. The block, the file provisioner block within the connection object. Yeah, let's see this executing this. I'm directly using about the remote exec and copying the file. Executing the commands. So that is on the basis of the resource which you are using. Is it, same AWS instance resource you are using? Or is it a null resource you are using? That means some additional resource, external resource. Then you need to define the connection objects. So be specific to that particular provisioner point of view, provisioner connections. Yeah, with this now, if it is good, so then we are expecting that everything has to be done with the automation. Even that the deployment file create, we have created, but if it is already there in GitHub somewhere, we can download it and we can copy all the files to the remote system and we can run the commands. Yeah, during the launching the system, if you like to export the commands, use the user data. But once the system has been launched and you need to copy the files and you need to export the commands, then we can use these provisioners. That is overall concepts of this Terraform. Yeah, what are the manual command we were running this in the previous instance? That instance, I am destroying that. So let's go ahead and try to launch the new block. The new instance, which should get ready with about our index.html file as a deployment. Yeah, so it is connected to the remote system. So for the remote EXEC, but cannot create a regular file, variable HTML file, no such file or directory. So what's happening is it is saying this variable HTML file is not available. That means, so here if you just observe that, so here it is created the instance. After creating that instance, it is trying to execute the provisioner immediately. Yes, instance is ready as a Terraform state point of view. Instance launching is ready, but still it is going to take some time, right? Backend, it has to, what are the commands we are defined. So here, this script which you are executing, that SHA script. So it is updating the system. Update, yes, it requires some time to update the packages. Then it is installing the packages, then starting. So what is the problem here? It is after executing this command successful, then where HTML directory will get ready. But if this command is not executed, but you are, about your null resource is trying to execute that file copying, then it is going to get failure. So here, one more point what we have to see is this resource is completing. This resource is going to completing the execution before performing this script execution. That is a problem. We have defined the depends block, but depends block is just going to make sure about it. AWS instance is completed. This resource completed or not. Once it is completed, it started execution. That is a provisioner, local provisioner, and connecting to the remote system and file provisioner. And then a remote provisioner, it is trying to executing that. But by executing this time, this directory is not available. This directory, we are not creating that. This directory is created by HTTP package. This package is going to, this installation of the package, yes, is going to create a directory. So this directory was not available. So what's happening this is, here, what we need to do is, I would like to execute this command after 2 minutes. This command, I would like to sleep it. I don't want to run immediately. I would like to hold here some time to complete my HTTP service script execution. So I'm just going to mark it the sleep for 60 seconds. Yes, that's more enough. Then by this time, so internal the scripts also which will be executed. That is updating the system, installing that package and starting the service. So all those activities that would be completed. Then I'm going to instruct it, copy the file. But to copy these files, the system get ready. The temporary directory, if I'm able to connect it, that's I'm good. This directory is a system directory. But this directory is about our service directory. The service directory is not getting ready by that time. So I'm going to wait for that 1 minute to execute this command. Yes, let's see this now. There are all the challenges. Yes, the system is showing that ready, but internal about your script is going to do that, updating the system and applying that. So it requires some additional time. But Terraform is not having the control on it. So this point of view we are using explicitly. So hold for 1 minute to run about our copy command. So these are all on the basis of the dependencies which we need to identify it. So the during bootstrap scripts and connecting to the system and executing that commands point of view. Yes. We need to identify it and we need to implement the scripts. Good. Let's see this. We are expecting everything is okay. Yeah, so whenever we are working with this kind of the scripts, we need to have the patience, waiting time. So simple single line of the code to test it, yes, it requires the patience. Okay, cool. So let's see this. Yeah, tomorrow onwards in the projects, if I say this local provisioner or remote provisioner, so immediately you should understand that the usage of these provisioner concepts in the Terraform. Yeah, local provisioner, file provisioner, now the remote provisioner. But remote provisioner, we said that wait for the 1 minute because background. So on that instance, updating the system and installing the HTTP package, all those commands will be performed. So system is connected is nothing but it is not completely ready, right? So if you about your bootstrap script, you are doing that the more packages installation, then it takes a lot of time. Then you need to hold that much time to execute that the next commands. These are all we can say that getting ready of the system. Yeah, after the 60 seconds, then it is going to try to execute about a command, that is copy command. Yeah, now this time it is successful, no issues with that. Now if I take this public IP and if I execute this, I should, which we are expecting that the Terraform is ready. That is custom application deployment. Yes. Is it clear about that? The provisioners concepts?
Yes, sir.
So first we are generating that index.html file dynamically. Then this, local, whatever the files we have generated, that file we have copied to the remote system using the file provisioner. And after copying that, yeah, that is first permissions point of view, temporary folder is recommended to copy that. Yes, temporary folder we have copied. And then I have used remote exe to deploy that application to the server. Yes, this is actual deployment. The static application deployment on the HTTP server. But here we have this only one file. If you have the set of files, suppose welcome.html file. Yes, I can generate it one more using the provisioner welcome.html. In the files folder, I can generate it. And I can copy all these files to the temporary directory and I can deploy that all these files to the mat.html. Enter directory, if you have the files folder, yes, entire folder, you can copy that. Then that is, suppose you have the portfolio application, right? That portfolio application itself, you can copy it and you can deploy it. Yeah, so that's about the three more concepts, important concepts. And now you are working with that. Once the system is ready, before we are talking about it, system launching. But now today, which we discussed, once system is ready, is how to copy the files or how to execute the commands on the remote system. Yeah, we were using that null resource as to execute all these commands, or directly you can use it to these provisioners. So once this system is ready, file provisioners are the remote provisioners, you can directly use it in this resource block itself. That is on the base of the use case. You can try to use these provisioners. So let me push this code to the remote repository, the way you can refer this code. Yeah, we didn't change it any variables. We didn't change it any provider specification, only resource file and script file. Yeah. Okay, so now you can access that code. So I have already shared this link, right?
Yes, sir, we have already.
Yeah, so that's all for today. And tomorrow we start about that Java application. Yes, now this Terraform, how do we use it? And the virtual machines to launch it with the required softwares. Yes, next like Maven software, Jenkins software, these activities point of view, we are going to use it, all these concepts. That is the provisional concepts and as well as bootstrap scripts, security groups. Yeah, we are going to come back to that to use it as per the requirement. But before that, we should know the Java application. What is the application and what are the stages and the steps that we have that in the Java JT based applications? Yes, that is one more concept which we should understand. The next. Yeah, that's we started tomorrow. So tomorrow we are moving the application side. So for Linux system, then that Linux system, how do we automate it with the shell scripting? Then these Linux systems with the storages or the load balancers, auto scaling groups if you need it. How do we use the cloud? That cloud to, I mean, within the cloud, those resources that virtual machines, if you like to launch it, yes, how do we use it? The Terraform script. And these Terraform scripts are the application code to store it. Yes, where do we store it? That is Git or GitHub, which we have gone through this so far. But next one is, so if you like to deploy that application to the servers, about application also required. Yeah, that's we are going to start it tomorrow. Yeah, so that's all from my side. Any queries, questions, please? Yeah, thank you. Thank you all. So that's all, and we'll meet tomorrow.